Hello, everybody. We're just gonna wait to see who comes on. Awesome. Our guest speaker has just joined, so we're gonna go ahead and get her added onto here really quickly so that we can get started. Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. It's so good to see you. When I tell you that I'm super excited about this topic because as a single mom of four,
A four. Wow.
yeah, so I have six. Two of them are grown.
Hmm.
I have to worry about them, but these four little ones, don't know. So, for the sake of our audience, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So,
Hmm.
I'm Renee of Renee Inc., and I am a partner with Safe, Sassy, and Successful, abbreviated SSS. And we have with us today Miss Shannon Beckford, who is a single mom, a blogger, an educator. And so we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, feel free to throw them in the chat. And at the end, we'll go ahead and address those for you all. Okay, so we're going to get right in there. And first, tell us a little about yourself and where we can find you.
All right. So, like you said, my name is Shannon. My location is in Canada, Ontario. So, I'm like in a city just outside of Toronto. I am a single mother. I have a 7-year-old boy. He's going to be turning 8 in January of next year. I'm an educator and I'm a registered early child educator, and I'm going to be doing my master's in September for teaching. I started my blog, Sincerely Shan. I started that blog. I launched it actually back in December.
Okay.
So that's going, and yeah, that's a little synopsis of me.
Awesome. And then I just want to let you all know, please go check out her blog. I've read it. I loved it.
Yes.
I love it. So please go check it out. You will benefit from it, I guarantee you.
Mhm. The blog is sincerelyshan.com.
Awesome. So we're going to get in there and say, so as you mentioned, the educator,
Mm-hmm.
we're in a new time where we're having to educate our children ourselves. We're at stay-at-home moms, and so me, I'm a new stay-at-home mom because I've worked since I've had my children much, and so this is completely new for me. And
Yeah.
so, especially having to teach them.
Mm-hmm.
And what tips and advice can you give to us moms who now have to stay at home and looking that, especially in the United States, the pandemic is grown tremendously. And so, just with me, even yesterday, getting an email that my children will be at home with me again, beginning of the school year. What tips do you, as an educator, to where I can give my children the tools that they need and that they don't fall behind?
I just wrapped up my week ago, and I definitely struggled a lot. And even as an educator, I learned that I can't teach my son. Like, he doesn't respond to me as well. He responds to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually kind of like worked with a couple other women, and I learned different tips and things that you could do. So one of them was like learning your kids, knowing your kids' learning style. So
Okay.
I found out that my son wasn't he's more kinesthetic. He has to move around. He likes to go and do more hands-on stuff. So a lot of the online learning stuff was very paper to pencil, and then you submit it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really had to look at it and like improvise and make it more fun. I had to like alter it for the work to get done. So
Okay.
that was like one really good thing. And I found also like getting on schedule, like having a schedule, that helped. Something that can flow through the day and that can work around us as well, because we need our time
Right.
to like cook dinner, lunch, and stuff like that. And one would help me a lot was I bought a clipboard for my son, so we would do work outside.
Okay.
We would go outside and do our homework, or sit on the couch, or not at the table, because it got too structured, and it just felt like it wasn't fun anymore. So I kind of started putting him in like the couch, sit on the couch, relax. As long as he's doing his work, like I didn't mind. go upstairs to his room or go outside on the porch, on the grass, like
Mm.
stuff like that. Okay, Claire.
Okay, yeah, I actually like that idea because I have children that range, the ones that are staying at home,
Hmm.
13 to 7. And so with that age range, and then my 4-year-old going into preschool, so then with that age range, I think that would be actually beneficial for my particular house. And I think that was key in learning your child's learning style.
Yeah.
You can be impactful. And I think, especially with me, like when I tell you hats off to teachers, hats off to
I know.
educators, because I don't know how they deal with the multiple personalities in a classroom setting and then
Yeah.
get them to learn and adapt the information. So hats off to all educators. You have my utmost respect in that regard. So that was very key, like learning your child's learning
Mhm.
pattern and the environment by which they're learning. Like, and I think outside would be great because we're in the summertime and
Yeah.
sunny, great and stuff. So I really like those ideas.
And I think for me too was like I didn't we had like schedule, like my son had a lot of tasks to do, but it was like we're at home, it's not normal. So I wasn't cramming things. The teacher got the work when they got the work. It got done, but it wasn't gonna get done on their time because realistically that's not how things are at home. We have to do other stuff as well. So my thing was like give yourself grace and not try to like shove everything done in a day. If it has to get done tomorrow, it will get done tomorrow. There's times where we're doing work on weekends. Like we'll do like a small coloring task on the weekend because that's just what works for our home. We can't just fight in on that deadline day because we're going to mark it still because they know with everything's going on. We have to accommodate that.
Okay, yeah, that's because I'm such a stickler for time frames. I'm,
Hmm.
oh my God, the due date's tomorrow. We got to get it done. So I think I will do that. I think as a mom, giving yourself leniency, and not
Yeah.
being hard on yourself, especially as this new role as an educator for your children, is kind of stretching it out a little bit when necessary, especially if you have multiple children that you're teaching.
Yes, you have the four, so for sure.
And so then, going on from there, in your blog, I saw that you had tips that kind of help
Mhm.
with overwhelm. And if you have, like, I think I liked your term where you the key term that you used.
Oh, strong
Um,
will.
child. That's a strong will child because I have two strong children in my house. So what
Hmm.
give to our first explaining what a strong will child is, and then the tips that you gave to help manage that.
So a strong will child is a child who it's like somebody who's strong-willed. They have their own mindset. They want to do their own thing, and it's like you experience like that challenge with them where they're like there's always an argument or there's always like that friction or that tension between you two, and a child who just knows what they want and they want what they want, you know. And for me, that's my son 100%. Like he is just a strong-headed, very stubborn child. So my first tip that really worked for me was having a schedule. And that schedule was like a God's gift because it was there and I didn't have to tell him what to do. I didn't have to say, hey, like the schedule's there, we went through it together. So
Mm-hmm.
after school, he knew that after school you have to wash your hands. There's no question about it. There's no excuse of why you cannot.
Mm-hmm.
You have a time for your homework, and then you have a time for bed and for things to get ready for bed, time to read, a time to play. Like there's always they know what happens next. There's no thinking. And they get into the habit of using it. So at this point, like my son doesn't have to look at the schedule anymore. He just knows that after I have my quiet time, I gotta have a snack time, or we gotta go outside after this. There's no more like I want to go outside now. No, but you have a schedule. We know how to follow the schedule. Because at school they have schedule. They have their morning announcements, they have their recess bells, they have a schedule, so there's no arguing. So at home we have to have like that kind of same consistent schedule. It helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
My next tip that helped me was behavioral charts. So I did a thing where it was there's so many you can do, like on Pinterest you can find tons, and I kind of made my own from what I saw on Pinterest. Was with I get a regular chart of paper and I write things we need to work on. So I guess if the week prior he was having struggles with school or listening, stuff like that, I would around the schedule, right? things you need to work on, you need to work on talking back. You need to work on cleaning up after yourself, and we'll put it down. I usually stick it to like maybe keep it around 2 to 3,
Okay.
nothing too much. And then I add stickers every day. Those things are done well. And
Mm,
at the end of the week, I'll give them a prize or something. Usually, like something small at the store, like you get a Kinder Surprise or we get
mm,
to go somewhere, like something small, but it's
mhm.
something to work on. And then until the behavior it becomes a habit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that one. I think I like the chart, specifically the routine chart, and even I think like I said on Pinterest, I saw one where it was like color coded, and then
Yeah,
the
those are good too.
coded, so it's like they match colors with the task for the day, and so I think that's something that you can implement routines. I think even in the previous one in educating our own children is that routines are very important because, like you said, in school settings, it's very structured. You know,
Yeah.
even reinforcing positive behaviors. Like if you do these behaviors, then there's be a reward from it. So I think that was very that was enlightening in regards to the way it usually is if you don't do the behaviors, there's a discipline behind it. So I
Yeah.
think the positive behaviors is really what'll be key in getting your child to continue those patterns of good behavior.
Yeah, and it makes things clearer. Like it makes things that if I do this, I get this. If I don't do this, this is my consequence. If you just keep it straightforward and clear, then that helps a lot. I think I also on the blog I talked about social stories, having books that are about stories where kids are doing behaviors that you don't want the kids to do, and then like how they're learning from it. Like there's a lot for toddlers when it comes to like no biting and no kicking when they're at that kind of stage. And then older, I think for my son, I use a lot of emotion books,
Okay.
like self-regulation, stuff like that. So like him understanding like it's okay to be have these big emotions, but like how do we control them and how do we identify them? Stuff like that is really helpful.
Right. And do you have, I know I'm kind of throwing this out there, do you have authors that you would suggest we kind of go and look up to find those types of books or a particular store that would carry those?
Um, Usually Indigo has there is a set I think on Amazon if you type in social stories.
Hmm.
There is a one author that makes them Pacific. I don't know the remember the name. They're like a little like the small they're like the small books and they're like the hard cardboard ones.
Oh,
Like
okay.
no binding, no I can't remember the author's name, but Indigo anything like search up social stories for kids and you may find on Google and then you can just go to Indigo or Amazon and then search those and see if they come up and purchase.
Okay, awesome. Because I think I'm gonna need, like with my 4 year old, I'm gonna get a couple of those for her specifically because I know she needs the no fighting, no
Yeah.
biting. That would be key for her. Um, and then
Hmm.
when talking about quarantine time, and we have to be full time mom, like new role for us, balancing out, those who working from home and then having to out and then having to do the chores around the house. What would be a good balance in regards to taking time out for me to ensure that I'm mentally sound while
Hmm.
still being attentive to the house?
I mean, it's hard. It's difficult, but I think um, I kind of like try to have a to-do list kind of thing, so I kind of stay organized that way. So I know, like, for let's use myself for example. So I know tomorrow I need to do my cleaning. That's like my Fridays are my cleaning days. So I
Mhm.
know I want to, clean the bathroom, my room, my son's room, and the kitchen. So I kind of like I take my breaks and I try to like find like if I clean my room and things in the morning, then I'll
Mhm.
take a little bit of a break for myself, like an hour, 2 hours, watch my shows, kind of hang out and then clean the rest. And then I make some time to have some time for my son as well, right? But I
Right.
think it's difficult, but I think you just have to like try not to do everything on one day, like space it out. Like even with comes to if you're cleaning, um, you got to do a little bit every day. You got to stretch it out, let it so you can have those moments for yourself. Especially like when you have more than like I only have one child, so when you have more than one, you got
Mhm.
to kind of like maneuver and figure out how can I get everything done, but not all in one day. You kind of got to stretch it out somehow. That's what I try to do myself. I try to just make sure I have a list of things I want to get done for the week, and then I break it down into the days, and then find those moments for yourself, even if it's an hour, something.
Yeah, I think because I know I'm guilty of forgetting me. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of us moms do is we forget us, and
Mhm.
we get to that overwhelm and that breaking point, then we're like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like you got to completely detach in order to gain some type of composure in the moment. And
Yeah.
so I think that's very key in regards to remembering yourself and remembering that, you know, um, I think the way that you phrased it blog was a mommy timeout, where it's like I have to separate myself for a moment, like this is mommy's time. And, I try to do that when I remember to,
Yeah.
at least 15 minutes from like, okay, this is my time. I'll door, and even if it's just lay across the bed and do nothing and just have complete
Yeah.
15 minutes, because I think with the silence, that's key. It gives you gives you a chance to reflect. It gives you time to kind of realign,
Yeah.
with whatever you have to do for the day, your assignments and things like that. And so I think it's really something that I personally have to work on, is
Yeah.
taking
It's
that.
hard,
Hmm.
especially as a single mother as well. We don't have that where we can just like pass over for the week or pass here, So sometimes it's like we gotta find that one moment. Sometimes my moments are like literally my son goes to bed like 10 o'clock. Like my moments are after 10 is where sometimes I go to bed late, but it's because this is my time. This is my time to like just sit and relax and like, think about the day, think about for tomorrow, like just kind of plan for what's next.
Yeah. Um, One of the things that I saw in your blog that I liked, and that I know your experience is, we're in a time where we seem to have we found ourselves spending a lot of time with significant others and finding that this does not work. This isn't working. This isn't who I thought I was dating. This isn't who I thought I was in a relationship with. So now we have like the true colors beginning to reveal themselves now that we're kind of together. And so, what would be your advice for that woman who is just sticking to this relationship for the sake of the child? Like, I don't want to be a single mom. I don't want to do this by myself. My baby needs a father. What would be your advice in disconnecting from that situation?
I was there. My advice is to just run for the hills. Um, no, I feel like I would never stay in a relationship for a child. I mean, I was there, I was doing it, I was staying in a relationship because I thought I don't want to have to, when I didn't want to start over, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to raise my son in a broken home. I didn't want the typical stereotype of being a black woman and then being, top of being a black woman, okay, now I'm a black single mother of a son, had that typical situation. Like I did not want that at all. And I think I had to reach out to one of my cousins. She's in the live. I had to reach out to her. And I remember she was the person that told me, like, if you're not happy and this is not gonna go, this is nothing's gonna change from here. Because it wasn't changing, it wasn't getting better.
Yeah.
So and like mentally, like I couldn't, I was so detached from parenting. I think when you're in a situation like that, you become so numb to things, become so detached to parenting. Like I didn't wasn't really bonding with my son during his like first year of life. I wasn't really, I was so detached, but I was so unhappy with my relationship. And I was just staying there because I wanted to make things work. So I think you really just have to look at I think when I say you look at what you want. You look at where you want to be
Mm-hmm.
and you look at, is this person, if I stay here today, am I going to get to where I want to be?
Yeah.
And if does our values work together, that we're going to make it to where I want our relationship to be, where I want our family to be. And if it doesn't align, doesn't work, then you need to know that, okay, you know what, we have to go our separate ways. And I mean, it's a blessing in disguise. Like it hurts and it sucks at times, but it's like you have to mentally get back to yourself so that now you can be actually, like you can be a mother, or you can be the best, actually just be the best of who you are. But then when you have all that, the toxic relationship, or you have relationship that's not really working and you're trying to make it work and it's not working and you're back in your head, you're
Yeah.
not, you're that's taking up space, and it's not allowing you to do the best for your kids now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to kind of like let go of that and move forward kind of thing. But I mean, it's hard. It's not easy. It took me about a year. It took
Yeah.
me a year to before I said, okay, you know what? It's not working for me. I need to step away. I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, like your mental health is more important than this relationship. And if it's not feeding your not helping you improve your mental health and not feeding you anything good, then what is really feeding your kids?
Yeah.
So,
And I think that's very key that we forget sometimes as moms that our children, even though we don't think that they're young enough to understand, that they see that you're unhappy. They see that you're not in a good place mentally anymore, and they pick up things. And so I think that sometimes we stay in a relationship for the sake of the child, but I think that disconnecting, like you said, and running the situation so that you could be whole is what's best for the child in the long run.
yeah, for
And
sure.
so let's say for those of us who we've made the choice to run, we ran, and
Mhm.
we're now trying to raise our children with a broken heart. While we're trying to mend, we're trying to raise our child. We're trying to be in the moment and be present. What has been your experience with that, and how did you stay emotionally present with your child while mending your broken heart?
Oh wow. No, it's definitely like it's not. I can't say it's easy. I mean, and I think back then, like I didn't. The word therapy wasn't. That was like 6 years ago. Therapy wasn't really a thrown around word. Like we didn't talk about therapy. Um, it wasn't there, and as well, like you can't. It's hard to be a mother when you have a broken heart. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that what I did, I had to like surround myself with people who are going to support me. So I had like my sister, I had my cousins, people who's kind of been there, and people who have went to the same situation as I have been through. I think I had to really like lay on them. I had to like, if they know, like I vent to them on a consistent basis. Even till this day, I still vent to them about certain things. And it's like, I mean, that was my way of healing, was to vent and to tell people my story and tell people when I went through and how can I. So they kind of helped me get over that like hump of feeling broken and feeling like, you know what, like my situation was very I'll say like emotional abusive, stuff like that. It wasn't anything physical, but very emotional and very mental. So I feel like I had to like my family had to pour back in good things for me so that I can see my worth again. And then I had to start setting goals for myself. And that was I think a major thing too. I had to look at my look at who I was and like set goals for myself. Like, you know, I think after I broke up, I went right back to school. But if
Mm-hmm.
I stayed there, I would have never went to school because I didn't know who I was, what I was doing. I was just living with this baby for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That was just my life. And I feel like you really had to like go back, look at your goals, look at your values, and see that that person did not align with my values. It never did. That
Yeah.
person, like, look at, you have to like compare those things and figure out like I look at myself like that's not me. Even till this day, I have to say, I have to tell myself sometimes that when I talk to the person or we have things happen, I have to
Mm-hmm.
say like that is not me. Like that's that person, and I know who I am. I know my values, and that's how I kind of like came over like being brokenhearted, like
Yeah.
knowing my worth. That was my big thing. I had to relearn my worth and
Yeah.
know who I was.
And I think that's like you said, understanding who you are and going back to who you are. Because sometimes we get into relationships and we allow that person to detach us from the core of our being.
Yeah,
And even have surrounding yourself with good counsel, being surrounded by people who truly have your best interest at heart, who allow you to like vent and throw your tantrums and and scream and holler if you need to and let the tears flow. Things are key to, I think, getting over and beginning the healing process, and in anything, we know that God is in control and that, and that He'll help you along your journey. But understanding that when you surround yourself with good people, that
yeah,
that also helps you get to the other side of healing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so now when we're what would you say to a mother who's waiting for all the pieces to fall into place? Because we have this stereotype and we have this thought that everything is supposed to just fall into place and everything will start going like on autopilot and the things will be wonderful and things will be great, and they're just sitting back waiting for that moment to happen. What would you say to her?
You can't wait because it's just not going to fall into place. It's not like you have to get up and put them into place, because when things fall into place, it's like you have to start shifting them around because they're not going to fall into the right place sometimes. I know for me, like things didn't just fall into place. Like a lot of things fell, but they didn't fall into the right place, and things were just, so I had to start shifting and realigning and um, I guess refitting the pieces together, because you have to get up and do something. And it took a while, like take some time to get up and like want to do something for yourself. It does take a while because you're not happy, you're not in a happy state. But I think
Yeah,
you just have to get up and do it. You have to, at some point, you have to get up and take action for yourself, because the pieces are gonna fall, but they're not gonna fall the way you want them to fall at all.
absolutely. I think my turning point, I was listening to this this motivational speaker. I can't remember his name. It was an audiobook, as a matter of fact. I was listening to it, and he said that stuck with me, and it's something that I've been kind of living by ever since then, is when he said, you're sitting at home waiting for someone to rescue you, and no one's coming. No
Yeah.
one's going to rescue you. You have to take the initiative to make the changes in your life that you want to see happen. And so I think as a single mom, we sit at home sometimes and we're waiting for someone to come. We're waiting for the knight in shining armor. We're waiting for that big check, like let's say now the big stimulus package or the big something that's going to come and just change everything that's going on in our lives. And I think that we forget that there's work that
Yeah.
has to be done.
It's a
That's
lot of work. Yeah.
where you're going to end up. And so things don't, like you said, they don't just fall into place. Everything has to be placed intentionally and
Intentionally.
placed um, in a way that will help you get to your final destination. Like you just can't, it's like my mom used to say, you can't tiptoe through the tulips.
No. Gotta work backwards. You gotta look at your goals and work backwards to it, right?
Hmm. And
Yeah.
I goal setting, like you stated before, goal setting is key in anything. You have to set goals and know where you're going. You just can't aimlessly go through life. You have to know where you're going.
Hmm.
The other thing I want to touch on is in this social climate right now,
Yeah.
we have a lot of unrest, where it's racially not in this social climate. We're seeing a lot of things like you see the riots, you see the protests, whether they be um, um, silent protests or whether they're positive protests or whether they have peaceful protests. Like our children are watching the news and they're watching TV and they're on social media and they see the Black Lives Matter movement and even so now I kind of had to monitor more so what the kids were watching when you had some things that were coming on where they were putting up stories of things that happened, during slavery times and things that were really graphic and things of that nature.
Yeah.
You suggest to a mother who's raising a child in this climate?
Hmm. I guess when your kids start to get exposed to those things, I would say you start asking them questions, because like I guess for me, like sometimes the news is on him. I don't really pay attention. Like it's always just on in the house because that's all we watch on TV. And like my son will walk by and see certain things, and think I have to start. I have to ask him these questions of how he feels about it, and then you kind of know your kid's comprehension level and what they're understanding, what they're not understanding. I think my son's at the age where he's like he understands kind of what's going on, but he's making comparisons that don't make sense sometimes. So it's like I know where his comprehension level is. He's not fully there to grasp the concepts
Mm-hmm.
because he hasn't been exposed to it. I've kind of sheltered him a little bit, and then at school they're not discussing this racism and stuff like that. Or if they are, it's more like they discuss inclusive, be inclusive, equality, stuff like that. The word inclusive is really huge. That's the biggest word they use, and they use it as in everybody's involved. But
Mm-hmm.
no, not everybody is involved. That's not what inclusive really can mean. Um, so I think that when you, it depends on your kid's comprehension level. When do you feel it's so you can have the talk with them, and how far the talk is going to go?
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, you have like older kids, right? So those you don't really have to like it's on the news. They can comprehend that. But then for the younger ones, it's kind of like my thing. I think for my son, and I think for when it comes to like all younger kids, exposing them to culture, exposing them to like like there's a lot of festivals in the city you can take them to. Like in Toronto we have like Latin Fest, we have Caravana, we have
Mm-hmm.
what's it called, we have like Jerk Fest, we have so many festivals with so many cultures. Like I try to take my son to all of those to expose him to all cultures,
Right.
because in school they do have like their culture day, and they bring their talk about their culture, stuff like that, and they kind of compare and contrast who's born here and who's stuff like that. And I think just exposing them to those kind of things, and like reading books and stories to them where it has every culture is in there. You have, there's so many books out there right now, and you can like use books to teach them, and teach them equality, teach them what it means to be inclusive and stuff like that. But I mean, when it comes to the hard stuff on the news, I really think it depends on what they saw, and really trying to understand their like what they're comprehending and how they're comprehending it.
Yeah.
Um, I saw my son saw, I think he saw like something, a police punching somebody on the news. I don't remember when it was,
Mm-hmm.
but he came out. He's like, "Oh, I saw the police punch people on the news." He's like, "The police have punched people," and he's like, you know, kind of scared of that. And he always wanted to be a police officer, but now it's like that's not his option anymore. He doesn't want to be, but it's like I guess I had explained to him, like, you know, there's good cops and there's bad cops. Like, I have to break it down to simple language, because that's really all we can do, you know? I don't want him to grow up fearing the police, but then I know that he's like, in reality, he may fear the police. But it's like, we have to, you know, like, find that like find somehow to explain. I don't even know how to explain, but you gotta find some way to break it down to them without, I mean, without giving it to them all if they don't understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, there's things that you have to explain to your child as they see these different things,
Mm-hmm.
um, helping them understand. Fortunately for me, my father works for the sheriffs, and so it's kind of like, not all police
Yeah.
like is not a bad man. You know what I mean? And so it's like you said, just really kind of gauging where your child is in a level of understanding, and then just explaining to them from that perspective, and really helping them understand what it is. What does that mean? You
Mm-hmm.
look like, and because I think, like, with one of my teenage daughters, one of her things was that because of what she had been seeing, she started to build a sort of disdain, you know, towards, the Caucasian race because
Yeah.
of it. And so it's kind of like helping her understand, like, not everyone, believes that way, and not everyone thinks that way. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't want you to now be instilled with a hatred or a disdain for anyone because of what's happened or what's been going on. Continue to love, and that you continue the example of what love is, and all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that right now it's very important, that we have to have these conversations with our children, because that's the world they're living in today. This is
On
what.
top of like all of that as well, like we have to think about ourselves and be mindful. You know, sometimes we may make a joke that you think our kids aren't hearing, or we may be watching on our phone that our kids aren't seeing, and it's like we have to be mindful of the things that we say and the things that we do, and how we talk to other people about other races or people around us, so they don't build up that, like that kind of they don't build that certain type of language or prejudice towards other people as well. So
Yeah.
it starts with us being mindful. But I mean, it's hard, because I even remember in school this year. My son's in he was going grade 1, and I had to have the conversation with him about skin, like being black, because um, I can walk in his classroom on, like, he had a before and after school program, and I can walk in and I can see some kids acting away, and I'm like, I told my son, like, you can't follow this boy because he is not going to get in the kind of trouble that you're going to get into. And
Yeah.
I seen it happen. I seen the notes come home, and I'm like, okay, but my kid's in the office, and this boy, like, what happened? I don't want to ask what happened to the other child. Like, I know it's not my place to ask, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's always mine. Like, it's always mine. So I had to talk to him, like, I know he's your friend, but if
Hmm.
he's doing something bad, you really can't
Hmm.
follow him, because, and I even think a class teacher told me, she's a black woman, she told me, she's like, you need to talk to him about following, because he's getting in more trouble than the other child, and he's always going to, because of his skin color, and that's in the education system. So it's like, he doesn't really get it, but he understands, but he doesn't understand why. Like, why would I get in more trouble? We should both get the same. Like, it's supposed to be about being fair and stuff like that. But I mean, as he gets older, that conversation will evolve to more, like,
Yeah.
more context as to why.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're gonna open it up to questions. So if any of our viewers have a question, please go ahead and feel free to put it in the comment box now so that we can get your question. I saw a question earlier in our conversation that stated, what would you say to your younger self?
My younger self, I would say there's no rush. Honestly, there's nothing to rush. Like, enjoy your life, relax, have fun, and just don't rush. Like, there's no need to rush. There's no need to want to do everything. And other thing as well is, I would say, like, stop, just worry about yourself and not focus on what other people have,
Hmm.
and not want to always be like other people. Or you see people on like on social media, or I see my friends when I was young, and they have this and that, living this kind of life. It's like, there's no rush, you
Hmm.
know. I don't need to be anybody else. I don't need to be, just to be me, and not follow. That would be
Yeah.
my only thing, is not to follow, and just no, there's no rush. There's no rush. I made a lot of mistakes growing up. I did a lot of crazy things that my mom found alive. So I did a lot of crazy things, had a lot of fun, but I felt like I could have done more fun. I missed out a lot. Like, I know with my group of friends, with my sister and my group of friends, a lot of them were traveling and stuff. And I remember when I was having my son, I was at home, and they were in Miami. They were like, and just in traveling. They went to New York, and they're just having fun and being in their 20s, and I just never got to experience that. So my son's 1 now, so I kind of like, now I'm like in the whole, my son's older, I mean, not 1, he's older, so now I get to like experience all those fun stuff with them. But I wish that, like, I didn't miss out on those times, because like I really wanted to be there, but I couldn't. And like, I was stuck in a relationship, I had a son, so I feel like that would be my biggest thing, like, just to, there's no rush in life. Like, just enjoy your life, do what you want to do, travel, explore, live your life, and then when you're ready, settle down and find love, hopefully.
And I think that's very important, just going at your own pace and
Yeah.
running. It's like one of my good friends said to me, I believe it was earlier last week, when she was saying that it's not a sprint, it's a
It's a
marathon.
marathon.
You
Yeah.
know, where am I in a rush to get to? You know what I mean? And sometimes I need that reminder, because, like, as a budding entrepreneur, it's kind of like, I got to get it done. I got to get it done. I got to get it done. And it's like, who am I rushing for? Like, who am I in competition with? Like, who am I racing against? You know what I mean? It's kind of like you said, just take your time, go at your pace, and be okay. Not being like you're unique individual person, and you're supposed to be that way. You're not supposed to be a carbon copy of anybody.
Yeah.
You're able to just be you and be okay with being you.
Hmm.
And then I saw another question. Let's see.
I'm seeing a lot.
Yeah. It says, how were your friends when they found you were pregnant, and were they supportive?
I saw that one from Claire. Claire's my favorite supervisor I had. But my friends, honestly, I had one really good friend at that time. She was pretty supportive. We kind of drifted apart. Like our lives kind of got like I was in a relationship and I was kind of stuck in this relationship that wasn't really great. And then she kind of grew and doing her own thing. So we kind of like drifted apart. So not as friends as we were then. But I really didn't have a lot of friends at that time. I had a lot of family, but everybody was supportive. I remember when I found out I was pregnant, I was at work and I was feeling like I was working at Gap and I was at the cash and I was like fainting in and out, like trying to catch people out. And I just couldn't. I went to Loblaws. I found I was pregnant, did a test.
Mm-hmm.
I told my sister and I was bawling and she was just like, "Why are you crying? You're fine. Like, this is not a big issue. Stop it." I went to my cousins and they were all supportive. So I had a lot of support. My family was kind of supportive as well. Like I hid it from my mom for about a week. She's Jamaican, so she came home and was like, "Who's pregnant?" And I was like, "What do you like?" Just randomly, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then I ended up telling her like the next day. But everybody was supportive. Everybody was pretty supportive. I didn't have any issues with that.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and it goes back to what we were saying before, just surrounding yourself with good people, that can support you even in your most trying times.
Yeah.
You know, it's very important. And so the question we have here is, with all the stereotypes stacked against you, how do you navigate parenting, especially when it comes to teachers and advocating for your child?
That's been really hard, especially for my son's grade 1 year. I look extremely young. I've been told from his class teacher, "You should dress and look more like a mom." And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I'm 28 years old. I'm turning 29 October, and this is how I look. I fit in. I look like I'm 15. I look like when I was working in a school, they thought that I was like, "You can't be on your cell phone." And I was like, "Well, I'm working. Like I'm not a student." But I feel like as a young mom in the school, they definitely look at you a different way. And I think with my son's school, they definitely didn't. They thought I was like, the single black mother. She's just gonna she's not. She's kind of like on her own. Like her son has things stacked against him as well. That's why he has all this like issues, whatever. I'm like, he didn't have any issues with that. He was probably bored in the classroom, and the
Mm-hmm.
teacher to me had no classroom management skills. So like, there's a lot of issues there, and I feel like as you have to advocate and talk to people, like talk to other educators. That's what I did. Like, yeah, I'm an educator myself, but I talked to like my friends who were also teachers. I talked to people I know in my family who were teachers, and I talked to a couple of the behavior specialists that I knew. That I got a friend that's a behavioral specialist. I talked to her as well. So when I went into these meetings, I knew the language, I knew the say, I knew to talk about, and that's when they start to, I think, okay, this mom kind of knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's saying. And I think when I brought them an educator myself, I think that's when they're like, oh. So they
Mm-hmm.
kind of look at like, okay, she knows what she's saying. She knows the lingo. So I feel like when you're advocating as a single mom, like don't stop and don't stop at the teacher. If you want, go to the principal. If you want, go further. And then talk to other people and build a team. Even if it's people that not in the school board, but an educator somewhere else, talk to them, explain their issues, get more viewpoints, and then come with your information. Like I always used to come with it like I knew my stuff, I knew what I wanted, I knew what they need to do. So I
Mm-hmm.
think when it comes to just advocating for your child, like don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't let it stop you. Just reach out to other supports. There's so much supports in like different cities, wherever you are. Reach out to them. Find people who are in the field that can help you and ask them questions. So when you go to these like meetings or talk to the teacher, you know what to say and you know how to advocate for your child the right way.
Yeah, because when my son was younger, he was going through a behavioral time where he had issues. And so I ran into a situation where the principal was telling me that there were no services that he could give my child. And so it's like you have to be willing to go as far as you have to go to get the results your child deserves. You
Yeah.
know, I had to call the school board and the school district and say, hey, they're not helping my child. So until eventually, like, you know, he went on ahead and I think it took like a week, but he went on ahead and gave the resources that was necessary for my child. So I think, like you said, you have to be willing to go as far as you need to go to get results for your child.
They have the tools. I think it comes down to just being lazy. Like they have the tools, they have the people there to support, but it's like it's paperwork. Um, it's a lot, and I think that it's hard too because you don't want your child to be labeled, but then
Mm-hmm.
you want your child to get the help. And I mean, if they get the proper help, then they shouldn't be labeled.
Absolutely.
So that's like always like my fear as well. But I mean, if my son needs that extra help or he needs like I got like the social work of the school, the CYW, she
Mm-hmm.
came in and did like little social stuff with him. Like my son definitely needs help with social skills. Like he's strong willed. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
that's just who he is. So he needs help with like play with other kids if things get big. Like he's the quick to explode and the quick to be upset. So she came in and helped him with that. And I mean, it kind of felt weird, like, I'm the single mom, the
Mm-hmm.
black son who's just giving all this trouble at school. But I mean, the tools are there for us. Moms take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Take a couple more because I think the questions are just popping in.
I know I'm seeing it.
Okay, so it says, as a young single mother, do you feel that you don't get the support you need from your child's teachers when it comes to your child?
Um, Sometimes I feel like, well, for this year, my first year, like experiencing it like this. I mean, kindergarten was a great year. I had no issues in kindergarten, but the jump from kindergarten to grade one, that's when everything. The jump from kindergarten to grade one, that's when everything just like hit the fan. I was getting notes every single day, and I felt like, yeah, like I wasn't getting support from the teacher. She just sending me notes home every day, and some of the things that she's sending home to me was like, okay, well, for example, he hit his water bottle on his table. Okay, so take it away from him. Like, what do you want me to do? Like,
Yeah.
you're at school with him. That's a classroom management thing. That's nothing to do. So I feel like, yeah, I felt like it was my kid's just the bad kid in the class, and I have issue with him. And I
Hmm.
gave her suggestions at the interview meetings. She's an old school teacher. She's not really not really into like teaching the way that kids need to be learned. She's just like old school, like I'm the teacher, you're the students. That's how it is. And not all kids can work with that style, and my son couldn't. So definitely experienced it, but I mean I had to go above her. I had to go the principal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what we said, like you got to push it as far as you need to push it in order to get the results that you need for your child. And this will be the last question here, and then we'll close. It says, what do you do when you feel like you're in a frustrating time and you still have to be a parent?
Um, I I have two things I do. Sometimes I shut like negatively, sometimes I shut down. Like realistically, sometimes we do shut down. We get exhausted, we get overwhelmed, we get frustrated, and we just shut down like completely. Like there's times I just like completely disengage with my son. Like I can't manage. And usually that's
Mm-hmm.
when like my mom or my sister steps in for sure. And then there's times where like what I pause things I do and like that's a positive is I give my son some quiet activities, and usually I print a picture from online. He can go color it, and then I'm like, hey, let me just hop in the shower. I just do something that I have to do something where he cannot come with me to do it. So like the
Yeah.
shower, or sometimes I leave with my mom. I go do the groceries, stuff like that. Like step with the house for a bit. I'll go sit in the front of the house, and he'll ride his bike up and down. But at least I know like he's riding his bike, and I'm like I'm here watching him. But then like there's no we're not talking, and I'm just like relaxing. He's relaxing on his
Yeah.
bike as well. So those are kind of things that I try to do, the positive stuff.
Yeah. And this young lady that's asking, her son, what would you suggest for someone who has like a toddler infant? You know what I
Infant.
mean?
Yeah.
You can't necessarily send them away, like go play in your room, or you know what
Yeah.
I mean? They're at um he's at an age where he's clinging. you know what I mean, where he just needs mom. How do you still find that balance?
With infants, I guess it's a little bit different as well because you said they're not independent. They do need that attachment. What did I can't remember what I really used to do because I was usually home alone with my son during those times, and it was more like I would keep like the rocker, any of that kind of close to me, and I kind of keep him there. But I would take it to the kitchen, to the bathroom, to like everywhere, so that
Mm-hmm.
they're there, but like they're still on their own. And finding little like um, just something for them to like just if they're depending how young they are, like newborn to 2 3 months, stuff like that. Like I remember like I would give my son like as an infant, I'll give him maybe some type of toy. Like he had like I think one toy was like a crinkly paper or something. Like a it was like a toy. It's like a crinkle thing. Give it back to like crinkle with for a little bit, so it gives you time to like go just to sit there and be on your own for a moment. I guess it's like I don't know. Like you gotta like find what works for you. Either a distraction for them, laying them down with something beside them, like a teddy bear or something for them to like focus on, so that you can kind of have a little space between both of you. Something like that, I would say, or putting on some like maybe music, something calming, so you can put them down for a bit while you just do housework, but they can still see you, but there's something that's distracting them as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it's different for every child, so it's kind of like finding what works for yours,
That's a
and
good one that she said too. Going for a drive. That's a good one. Like getting in the car and just going for a drive. You play your music, baby's there, relaxing, and go for
hmm
a drive.
oh yeah, she said go through the through for a treat.
Or a drive here. Oh, I should go for a drive. Sorry, but that's a good
No,
one too.
I agree with that one. Go get yourself a cookie or something while they're in the back seat,
Yeah, that's a good
like a
one.
milkshake or something to treat yourself. But yeah,
Mhm.
and I think it just kind of depends on your child and where they are, but kind of what they're into. Um, because I know with me being a mom of six, what worked for one didn't necessarily work for the other one.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just kind of understanding, your baby and really
Hmm.
finding that thing, like you said, that distracts them, so that even though they're in the same space, they're not necessarily with you.
Yeah,
If
attached.
yeah. Well, I enjoyed our talk, and I love these talks. So I always walk away with something.
Hmm.
One of the things that, just to recap a little bit, is the implementation of routines is very important as a single mom, and getting yourself organized and understanding um, just how to get through your day, and
And keep your routines flexible as well.
yeah, that's what we talk. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know what I mean? Give yourself room to stretch it out if you need to.
Hmm.
Um, it looked like you have some people on here.
I know. I see like my mom, everybody. Yeah. Hey guys.
So I just wanted to say thank you for the information. You gave a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of wisdom, and
Mhm.
there's things that all of us can walk away with as single moms. And so, um, is there any last words you would like to give to our viewers today?
I think you kind of said it all. My biggest thing I would say is just give yourself, I'm still learning how to do it, but give yourself grace. We are not superhumans. We can't do everything. It takes a village to raise a child. So we we just can't do it all, and use our resources, use your family. If they want to take your kids for a day, go ahead. Like
Yeah,
do
please come.
just please pick them up. Like use the people around you, build a support system, and just take time for yourself. Your mental health is important. If you're not mentally okay, there's no way you can raise your kids. It's really difficult. So I would say just give yourself some time and relax. You gotta relax, find your outlets, find what makes you feel good.
Absolutely. And then let us know, where can we find you? Where can we find your blog?
So my blog is sincerelyshan.com, and you can also find me on Instagram at underscore sincerely Shan. I don't know why I got to it. So just underscore sincerely Shan.
Yeah, and please go check her out, follow her, read her blog. It's like if you think she gave wisdom today, her blog is absolutely amazing. I enjoyed it as I read it. And monthly, you post monthly, is that
Post monthly. I'm trying to get a little bit more, maybe do more, and then I'm getting into a mom talk, which is coming soon. I'm excited for that conversation.
awesome? Keep us posted here at Safe, Sassy, and Successful. And to everyone who joined us on today, we will see you again on next week. We have another dynamic speaker that we will be talking with. I love you all. Have a wonderful evening and good night.
Good night. I'll be tuning in.